وَإِذَا لَقُوا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قَالُوا آمَنَّا. When they meet up with those who have believed, who are believers, they show themselves as the biggest believers. قَالُوا آمَنَّا. They say, we believe. But you have to see when they're alone with their evil friends, with their devils. وَإِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ. When they are alone with their devil friends, قَالُوا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ. They say, we're with you. Let's pick up the swords and let's start doing some dances. إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُسْتَهْزِئُونَ. We're just making fun. We're making joke. We're joking. We were not serious when we were amongst the mu'mineen and claiming that we have iman. وَإِذَا لَقُوا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قَالُوا آمَنَّا. This was just a joke. We were fooling them. In reality, we're with you. We're going to pick up the swords. We're going to start dancing with you. And we're going to do whatever you want us to do. You want us to have ties with Israel? We're going to have ties with Israel. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Dear brothers and sisters, Quranic journey. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So we discussed a set of verses in our previous video that told us how far have we gone from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you would have not been so far from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you would have kept a close connection, a personal connection, the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala demands us, the way the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders us to do, if you would have not completely relied on others to take over and tell us what's written in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the message would have been clear for us. If you would have kept a close connection with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we would have light in our hearts that would tell us the right from the wrong, the enemy from the friend, and the true leader and scholar from the one who's going to eventually betray us. But that we did not do. And we took distance from Quran for no reason. We kept getting this far and far from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the point where what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had predicted exactly happened. What the Holy Quran had predicted, that happened. And that was us getting impressed by a group of people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that, look, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يُعْجِبُكَ قَوْلُهُ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. If you don't stay connected with me, if you don't get impressed by my words, then there's a group of people who will impress you. And their opinion about this world is going to make you wonder that how amazing these people are. And they will bring me as witness for that their intentions are clean. And you will start listening to them, and you will start exposing your soul and mind to whatever they have to offer. And you will be exposed to them to the point where you're going to give them the authority. How you're going to give up on your teachings, you're going to give up on your values, you're going to give up on your morals, you're going to give up on whatever good that you have, and you're going to start taking and adopting to their culture, to their values, their morals, to their lifestyle, to the point that they will take over your soul and they'll take the authority. And when they will take the authority, what's going to happen? وَإِذَا تَوَلَّى. Such clear words by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. سَعَى فِي الْأَرْضِ. Their highest efforts in this world would be to لِيُفْسِدَ فِيهَا, to create fasad in the earth. We discussed these verses in the previous video. لِيُفْسِدَ فِيهَا وَيُهْلِكَ الْحَرْثَ وَالنَّسْلَ. And to destroy the land and to commit genocide. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us many other signs about these people, how they are proud of being secular, how they're proud of having no connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these were some of the eye-opening verses that if we were influenced by these verses, if we were aware of them, if we would have gotten the light of the Holy Quran in our hearts, then it would have not been so difficult for us, and we would have not been fooled by those who claim to be the leaders. But when it's time to rise, to stand up against the enemy, they make their ties even tighter. They even get closer to them. And the kind of people who we expect to guide us to how to stand up against the enemy, but they tell us that even what we're doing is haram. They tell us that boycotting is haram. They tell us that protesting is haram. And whatever is happening is in front of us. People are dying in the worst way possible. And the enemy is free to select any weapons that they want to kill them in any way, humiliate them, do whatever they want. But we have to be careful in selecting the words for condemnation. If we want to condemn someone, we have to be selective about our words, but they're free. Anyway, so these were the verses that were telling us, that were predicting the situation. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said clearly, In tansurullaha yansurkum. If you help Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in reality, if you help yourself, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you. We can discuss about this verse in details later on. Today our focus is on some other verses that are even more clear than the previous verses about this situation. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also told us that inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not change the situation of a group until they do something about it themselves. So he was clear all the time, and this world is for test. We're not here to enjoy our lives. We're here to give a test, and if we fail the test, we face the consequences. And this is the consequences that we're facing because of the failing of the test. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to give us another message. It's in his book. It's in Surah Al-Baqarah. Again, how important this message is, that all the verses related to it are in Surah Al-Baqarah, although there are other verses as well, but these are the set of verses that are just so clear. So in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala discusses about muttaqeen. And he tells us their signs and their qualities, and then he talks about the kuffar, the ones who don't believe, and he tells us about their quality and what they do. And then a whole group of verses from verse number 8 till verse number 20 is just dedicated to discuss about this group of the people that are in that claim to be believers, but when we see their actions, it's proven otherwise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, let's read these verses. You can even pause the video here. You can go through verse number 8 till verse number 20 of Surah Al-Baqarah yourself, reflect upon the meanings, see what you get from it, and then you can come back to the video, or you could open the Holy Quran, and if you have, you can open the translation as well, and then you can follow along, inshallah. We're going to be reading these verses, and we're just going to be making a simple translation. You'll see how clear these verses are. These verses that are so important for guiding us have no ambiguity in them. They're so simple. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very clear about it. He says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. There's a group of people, again it starts وَمِنَ النَّاسِ. If you remember, the previous verses all started with وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يُعْجِبُكَ قَوْلُهُ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says again, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ. And there's a group of people, مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. They claim that they believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the day of judgment. So they claim is that they believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in the day of judgment. وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. But listen to me. If you open my book, if you read my words, I will tell you. Only I can tell you that they're not mu'mineen and they're fooling you. يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. They try to trick Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. They try to trick the believers. وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُمْ وَمَا هُمْ يَشْعُرُونَ. But they do not trick anyone except themselves. But they don't know it. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٌ فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا. If you wait, the verses will get even more clear. In their hearts, there is a disease, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases their disease. Only sick people can be quiet in front of such an atrocity. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases their disease because this world is a world in which we're going to be tested. وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْذِبُونَ. And they will be facing a painful punishment for what they have been denying, for what they have been ignoring. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. When you tell them that, look, your job has become to just create fasad in this world. You're just constantly creating destruction in this world. You're creating disunity in this world. You're creating sectarianism in this world. You're constantly making Muslims, the Ummah, fight amongst each other. You're so keen when a Muslim country is attacking another Muslim country. Why are you creating fasad? وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ, when they're told, لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ, don't do fasad in the earth. قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. They say, if anyone is a peacekeeper, it's us. We are the ones who keep the peace in this world. We are the ones who are protecting you. If we're not there, you're going to be attacked from everywhere. We know what's good for you and what's not good for you. And therefore, we are the peacekeepers. When you see us doing fasad in this earth and you tell us, you demand from us to not do any more corruption in this earth, it's not that we're doing corruption. In reality, this is the way we're protecting you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't be fooled by anyone. Listen to me. Open my book. He says, Allah. This is the kind of word you use to get the most attention from the audience. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah, be aware, behold, innahum, indeed they are, humul mufsidun, with a lot of emphasis, they are the ones who are corrupt, who do fasad. Walakin la yash'urun, but they don't know it. They think I'm going to allow them on the day of judgment to stay in my place, ma'adallah, and decide for the ummah's hell and heaven. Therefore, they tell you if you're right or wrong. No, they have no shu'ur, they have no knowledge, they have no understanding that on the day of judgment, I will be judging them and I will be giving titles to them. أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ الْمُفْسِدُونَ وَلَكِنْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. There's more to it, and it gets more and more interesting and more clear. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ آمِنُوا كَمَا آمَنَ النَّاسِ قَالُوا أَنُؤْمِنُ كَمَا آمَنَ السُّفَهَاءُ. When you tell them that why don't you believe like the rest of the ummah thinks that ties with enemies are wrong. The rest of the ummah thinks that being influenced by kuffar is wrong. The rest of the ummah thinks that fasad and fahsha and wrong things and immorality is wrong. The rest of the ummah thinks so many of the things you are doing is wrong. And they tell you that the way you're keeping quiet in front of what's happening today in this world is wrong. You know what you tell them? You know what they tell you? وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ آمِنُوا كَمَا آمَنَ النَّاسِ, when they're told to have iman the way the common ummah has iman, what do they say? قَالُوا أَنُؤْمِنُ كَمَا آمَنَ السُّفَهَاءُ. Should we believe the way the fools believe? They consider the rest of the ummah as fools. They tell us, you don't understand anything from the Quran. We are the one who have to tell you what's in the Quran. When we tell them about something, when we give some advice, when we ask them for something, they say, no, you don't understand. Let those who understand more than you to tell you what you have to do. You are fools. It's so clear. This is the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. None of this is something that I'm making from myself. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ آمِنُوا, when they're told to have iman, كَمَا آمَنَ النَّاسِ, the way the normal people, the common ummah has iman, قَالُوا أَنُؤْمِنُ كَمَا آمَنَ السُّفَهَاءُ. Should we believe the way the sufaha, the fools believe? No, we are smart. Our way of believing is going to be way different than what the common ummah thinks. What does common ummah know about the Quran? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the common ummah, look, I'm going to protect you from all the enemies, from within and from the outside. Open my book. أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ السُّفَهَاءُ وَلَكِنْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Remember, they are the ones who are fools, but they do not know it. Allahu Akbar. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the power and the authority to guide us towards the right message, that who is the fool and who is the one who is saying the truth. Look at these verses. They just keep getting more and more clear. وَإِذَا لَقُوا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قَالُوا آمَنَّا. Allahu Akbar. When they meet up, when they get together with those who are believers, they say, Amanna, we believe as well. We're with you. They actually show their iman more than anyone else. By their attire, the way they behave, you think they have so much iman, so much nur. MashaAllah. وَإِذَا لَقُوا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قَالُوا آمَنَّا. When they meet up with those who have believed, who are believers, they show themselves as the biggest believers. قَالُوا آمَنَّا. They say, we believe. But you have to see when they're alone with their evil friends, with their devils. وَإِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ. When they are alone with their devil friends, قَالُوا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ. They say, we're with you. Let's pick up the sword and let's start doing some dances. We're with you. إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُسْتَهْزِئُونَ. We're just making fun. We're making joke. We're joking. We were not serious when we were amongst the mu'mineen and claiming that we have iman. وَإِذَا لَقُوا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قَالُوا آمَنَّا. This was just a joke. We were fooling them. In reality, we're with you. We're going to pick up the swords. We're going to start dancing with you. And we're going to do whatever you want us to do. You want us to have ties with Israel? We're going to have ties with Israel. No problem. You want us to promote your values and whatever you have to present in our community, in our ummah? Of course we're going to do it. We're going to say it's okay. We're going to promote secularism. We're going to promote everything you want you want us to promote extremist mindset in our society? We're going to do that as well. You want us to create disunity amongst the ummah? Leave it up to us. وَإِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ قَالُوا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ. We're with you. You're our friends. You friends do favors for each other. إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُسْتَهْزِئُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't worry. I will protect you from these kind of people. If you open my book, if you go through my book, if you reflect upon my book collectively as an ummah, you will not be misguided. You will not be fooled by these people who want to fool you. Allahu yastahzi'u bihim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will turn the joke against them. وَيَمُدُّهُمْ فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ يَعْمَهُونَ. He will prolong them in their transgression, and they will be wandering blindly in their rebellion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make them suffer what the Muslim ummah is suffering from at this moment on the day of judgment. The sufferings of Palestinians is going to end because this is a temporary world. It's a very limited time. It's going to end very soon. Oh, my Palestinian brother. Oh, my Palestinian sister. Peace be upon you for your belief and for your faith. Inshallah, your sufferings will end very soon. It's not going to take a long time. But inshallah, those who stayed quiet, those who did not say anything, they will suffer in a life which is forever. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make them pay for they made fool out of the ummah. They said, we believe in the day of judgment and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they did not believe. What is the punishment for those who don't believe? Allahu Akbar. Allah yastahzi'u bihim وَيَمُدُّهُمْ فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ يَعْمَهُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ اشْتَرَوُا الضَّلَالَةَ بِالْهُدَىٰ. These are the people, when they made these deals with their enemies, when they did their efforts for normalization, when they did all their efforts to make these deals and sign these agreements, أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ اشْتَرَوُا الضَّلَالَةَ بِالْهُدَىٰ. They bought error and misguidance in exchange for huda, for hidayat and guidance. They had a limited amount of time and money. They could have bought hidayah, or they could have bought error and misguidance. They decided to buy misguidance. See how clearly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala points towards their interest. There's always a business and monetary interest that they want. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ اشْتَرَوُا الضَّلَالَةَ بِالْهُدَىٰ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also uses the similar words that also point towards their interest. They bought, you know what they bought? They bought error and misguidance in exchange for hidayah. فَمَا رَبِحَتْ تِجَارَتُهُمْ فَمَا رَبِحَتْ تِجَارَتُهُمْ وَمَا كَانُوا مُهْتَدِينَ. And gained nothing from this deal that they made. They have gained nothing from this deal that they have made. وَمَا كَانُوا مُهْتَدِينَ. And they are not guided. Allahu Akbar. So, dear brothers and sisters, you can read the rest of the verses that are so clear on this matter, and you can do your own reflection, pondering upon it, and see what you get from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Purify your souls, illuminate your hearts with the light from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, I'm going to give you, in the previous video, I gave a practical, cannot say solution, but I suggested a practical step that you could take towards getting close to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this video, I will introduce you to a surah. Look, when we feel that there's something wrong, when we realize that something is wrong and we want to change it, it's a big responsibility. If you want to change what's happening to this ummah, if you want to change the situation in Palestine, and if you want to not forget what happened there for past 70 years, and if you want to not go back to the previous state where we were completely unaware and we were completely distant from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then this is a big responsibility. And if you want to take a big responsibility, there's a surah in the Holy Quran that advised Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam what is it that he has to do before he takes the heaviest responsibility, which was guiding the entire ummah. So you can go through Surah Al-Muzammil. The first few verses of Surah Al-Muzammil is telling Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam what he has to do. If you have a doubt in your heart that, okay, this is for Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what does it have to do with us? Then read the last verse of Surah Al-Muzammil and see that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that not only Prophet, peace be upon him, did this, but even his companions started doing the same thing, because this is the same mission. He is on the top. We are the followers. So read the first few verses of Surah Al-Muzammil and see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala advises those who want to take a heavy responsibility, what they have to do in order to generate the capacity within them. Because look, if we don't have the capacity, if we don't have what it takes, we can never become successful in a fight. We have to be trained. We have to be familiar with the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's going to take some time. It's not going to be a very quick change that's going to come. But in my opinion, if you want to take a brotherly advice, you can start from reading Surah Al-Muzammil, especially the first few verses, and see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you and how He guides you when He knows that you have to take a very heavy burden and responsibility, and you are going to be on a very difficult mission, inshallah. We'll end this discussion by asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give relief to our brothers and sisters in Palestine as soon as possible. Oh Allah, forgive our shortcomings towards our brothers and sisters in Palestine, Ya Allah. Forgive us, Ya Allah. Guide us. The worst thing we could do is to become hopeless. We will never lose our hopes in you, O Allah. We have lost our hopes from ourselves, yes, but we don't lose our hope from you. And we hope and we truly wish that you guide us to the right path and we make up for the mistakes that we have made, O Allah. Illuminate our hearts with the light of the Holy Quran. Jazakumullah khairah. Fi amanillah.